Good day, everyone, and welcome to our live event today. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining from. I'm Michelle O'Connor, your business advisor for solo private practice owners. And today we're talking about a topic that can help you to reduce feeling overwhelmed about marketing, feeling overwhelmed about growing your practice. And what we try to do is to share with you different strategies that you can implement, whether on your own or by hiring somebody. But you can only hire based on what you are aware of. And so we're going to be having that conversation. So if you know of anyone in the who is in healthcare, who is thinking about marketing, thinking about growing their practice, and they need some help, they need to know what tools are out there, how can AI help me, this is where they need to be. So we're going to be bringing our guest on. Sabrina is joining us, and we had to bring in the expert. Thank you for coming on, Sabrina.
Hi, Michelle. So lovely to be here. And we know entrepreneur, no matter how many years you being a clinician running your business, is still a roller coaster because we're constantly adapting to the changes in the market space to stand out and not just, yes, we earn a degree, right? Like I have 9 letters behind my name, but what does that matter if we are a best kept secret? And even you have a brick and mortar practice that's now a telemedicine that can reach even more people outside of your state, but how do you actually be the one that people look up to and
Yeah.
really trust and go to you instead of the similar subspecialty or generalist that's a few doors down? And it's not to say we needed to be in competition with other, but simply do it in the smarter, more
Yeah.
concise way, and that more showing your personality and who you are, and that's at the end of the day where people buy into.
Right. So, one of the things I normally realize when I'm having conversations with clinicians is, oh my God, you know this? How come I don't know and nobody else knows? So it's how do you get out there? But one of the challenges that they have is they are busy seeing patients. And so this business operation side is very overwhelming, and they don't have the space and the time to really sit down and get to know what is out there. So if you're joining our live as usual, we want it to be interactive. Go ahead and share in the comments where you're joining from. If you have any questions at all, we want to hear your questions and so we can answer. So Sabrina is the expert, and so she helps healthcare entrepreneurs to gain visibility. And as you would have seen in our topic, we're talking about AI that converts. So I mean content that converts and using AI. So tell us a little bit about what you do, Sabrina, and how did you land in this space?
Yeah, so I have been someone who just like constantly feeling like we can't do the same thing we always do. uh yes, we learn from the best, or we learn from people with experience. However, if we're constantly learning from the similar pool, you're not diversifying, you're constantly actually being dragged behind because you're always a step behind someone else.
Yeah.
And I was someone who gone through many years of training. Actually, when I was in undergrad, I just loved the artsy side. So I went to a smart liberal arts school. They don't have a dance major. I was dancing my whole life, playing track and doing all those very active, like tomboy. But they had a music major, and I play piano since I was in elementary school anyway. So that was an easy pickup. At the same time, I don't see art as the ultimate thing for me. So then I also went into neuroscience because I knew I wanted to play in healthcare in some capacity. So
Right.
after the basic training, I end up getting a master in public health as well as a degree in physician associate, and tapped it right into cardiothoracic surgery. And I'm this one who didn't really wanted to do anything else but something that's more hands-on. So internal medicine was really never my thing. And I tried to pick up ER jobs and go and being hospitalist. I'm like, that is just not me. I needed to really for me at the time was what's the more definitive care. People that come to us for surgery is they don't really have that many options left, and if you could have changed your lifestyle, you should have done it years ago.
Yeah.
And that's the same concept as when we're running things into business. Well, when is the best time to plant a tree? 10 years ago
Years ago.
or right now? You kind of have to do the things that would need to be done right now and not criticize ourselves to say, oh, I wish I have done XYZ. I wish my team is better. I wish I have more time. I wish things just will just happen, right? It's not that wishful thinking, because
Right.
at the end of the day, even with training ourselves for discipline, for more agile, guess what? Those things fail us all the time. At the end of the day, what I learned for years from my training in neuroscience, in performance science, as well as a deep dive into how we are as clinicians, engaging with our patient, engaging with our team. And we all know healthcare have such high turnover. So I started going down into that executive leadership training perspective, start speaking, start hosting students, and looking into the hospital system. I work across the country, 12 plus of them. And at the end of the day, guess what? Everyone does a little bit different, but the main principle is all the same.
Yeah.
How do we keep people self-motivated enough to actually want to be here? And how do we keep our patients satisfied enough that they're not jumping around second opinion all the time? And
And
how
I
do we
want to
keep
say something
go
on
ahead.
this, Sabrina, because that's a big thing. When your patients don't feel confident in the information that you have given them, they're like, I'm not so sure. And that is where this constant communication sometimes comes in. And you also said something that I wanted to reiterate, which is something I also see. You are learning from somebody who's been in the business maybe 20 years ago, and you're doing the same thing that they're doing. It may not work for you, and there are other ways that exist right now that can help you. So maybe before it was just I'm just the best thing ever, and people will know. Right now, with how information is coming at us, we need to get them to know. And so as we talk about how to know, not make you be the best kept secret, how did that part of what you do evolve?
Exactly. Is that if we're constantly learning from the same pool, everyone become copycat and everyone get drowned out.
Yeah.
Just like everyone is trying to get into subscriber newsletter. If you think about how many blogs are there, huge amount. However, if you don't do it, then your website doesn't get ranked. So you still needed to have some kind of organic growth. But what people are not doing right is that they all have different strategies completely and not synchronized. So they say, let's have a strategy for blogging. Who's going to be writing all this? And then it's hundreds of dollars spent on copywriters and SEO experts to have that, right? And if your business is not generating enough revenue, you're not going to spend a few $1,000s a month just for those SEO experts to write your blogs and then backlinking it. Now, the same thing with people who I have a lot of experience in running podcasts and TV shows. Everyone wanted to be in the media. Oh, yes, I can be on someone else's show. So now they're thinking, how do I get on other people's stages? But then once that's done, they have no follow up.
Yeah.
They are not actually capturing the leads at those events, engagements, and then it's become again crickets afterwards.
Yeah.
And
I want to
there's no
say
thought
something on that.
process.
And that is why I encourage persons to have a plan. If you know that your strategy for this year, you're starting out by saying, my strategy for this year is to increase my reach to generate this amount in revenue, then all the things that you're doing is leading here. How many clients am I going to be connecting with? Where am I going to be storing their information? And we do so much. If you even think about it, you're talking about going on a show. I've had experience even outside of medicine where, I saw something on the television, someone was being interviewed, they have this amazing product, and I'm like, I want it. But guess what? They were not prepared for the inflow of clients that they would have received. And it's the same thing. You go on a show, persons are like, hey, you know what? You're interesting. How do you know that persons were interested? And that is why it starts from having a plan and being very clear about the strategy. Why are you going on a show? Why are you writing a newsletter? Why do you have a website? So wanted to just have our viewers think about that. And remember, go ahead and drop your questions in the chat. We're talking about AI and how it is that you can use that. We're going on the journey. So now we're just talking about some of the different marketing ways, marketing tools that we use to get our presence out there.
Exactly. Ultimately is writing that blog, doing that social posting, being engaging in social media platform, and knowing which one to engage in, knowing which even stage to speak on, and whether you use the pay media, the earned media, or your own media. What's the purpose of each of those channels that you're tapping
Talk to our
into?
viewers about those three, Sabrina. What falls under each?
Yes. So pay media is that you guys probably have seen people are pitching you, sending you messages in your DM saying, hey, we are this PR firm. We can get you on Forbes or Entrepreneur. And there's like let's say $1,500 attached to that. And for some of that, when people don't know how to do it, then it seems like, oh, this is a big ticket item. Ooh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. But again, that is just like instant flash. If people are not subscribing to Entrepreneur, they're not really seeing that.
Yeah.
So the true strategy for any of these paid or non-paid media, for that matters, is how do you then leverage those pieces and repurpose on your platforms, in your automation sequence, in your nurture sequence, in your awareness building sequence, in your conversion sequence, that make people feel like, oh, someone else validated who you are, your work, and therefore I'm going to actually then read about it, then gain more trust in. There's 3 levels: trust building, your company, your product, and yourself, right? And that self part is whether you as a leader or anybody who's representing your company, right? So those 3 levels of trust.
So what you're
And then
saying is we need to, if it is that you're going on a platform or you're going in a media outlet, ensure that that same content is being repurposed. Because as you just shared trust, sometimes you're like, oh, this person is talking about this, but I don't see them talking about it anywhere else. Was that them or was that generated by AI? So that is something that we get to think about as we talk about even repurposing our material.
correct. And different AI tools help you to rewrite those content, because then it's your own words. And so most time AI is not really great. It's because you didn't train the system well enough based on who you are, your writing style, your company profile, your clients. It's that beginning phase of what true marketing is that most people have no idea what they are. So they're just simply typing in, let's say, ChatGPT, Cloud, or Gemini, just a question or summarize this. Well, of course, the AI doesn't know your style to be able to summarize in your tone of voice. And then it sounds really terrible, because even just for a messaging or email, right? It always start with, I hope you're doing well. Well, I know, like reading this kind of bothers me. So yeah, I'm not doing well, right?
I
So
tell you, Sabrina, and that is something that I see a lot when persons promote themselves as virtual assistants or content writers or social media managers, and you're like, okay, here I want to do these emails, and you get it to review, and it starts with, I hope you're doing well, emoji, and I go, oh my god, this is pure AI. Like there's no time taken to get to know the business, to know the person writing style. I hope this email finds you well. No, I am officially unwell. So talk to us about how do persons know, as we go into using AI to help you to convert, how do you get the AI to get to know you more and to know your voice? What are some of the things you need to do?
yes, so let's take a high level first, right? So we always have the top down level instead of bottom up. So what I mean by top down is high level strategy, then breaking down by step. And so then you know exactly what to do. Most people doing marketing the wrong way, or really building business the wrong way, they do bottom up. They go directly into, oh, what are all the tasks I need to do? And they got so busy. And then at the end of the day, they don't even remember what they did the whole day. So that's not productivity, that's not efficiency,
Easy
and that
work.
is not proficiency, right? It doesn't give you the true ROI. So when we're thinking about, oh, AI can speed up our work, but what about quality, right? We first have to think about, okay, what is that overarching goal that you have?
Right.
Because each campaign, awareness campaign, means if people don't really know you much, or let's say linking is your primary area that you're trying to push and build relationship, and you only barely have a few thousand followers instead of tens and thousands like some of us, then how do you build that organic relationship, right? So perhaps your end metric, the success metric, is simply how many people subscribe or
Yeah.
or follow you, right? Like that connect with you. Or even other measurement is how many people actually reach out to you that have a meaningful conversation, and not just all these people who are pitching you, right? There's two different things.
Yeah.
And you can also measure if you're the type who actually want to have a conversation. If you don't even have time, you want people to submit a form, right? All these things can be measurement of success. So that's a simply awareness campaign or perhaps the engagement campaign. We're not measuring, but what likes or comments, right? And that doesn't really give you anything unless it lead to that, oh,
Right.
connections and
And
whatnot. So
that's something, I was talking to my accountability partner, and I, we meet every Monday, and that's something we were talking about yesterday as we plan for the next quarter. Where you started from, like, what's the goal? And we have this term in business: what are your lead indicators and what are your lag indicators? So if I know, as you just shared, that I need to build my awareness at the end of the month, I want to have 10 conversations. It means that the work I'm doing is really leading to those 10 conversations, and not just, oh, who is liking, who is seeing, but what meaningful output am I getting from the work that I'm doing?
exactly. So then that's if we're doing awareness campaign. And then versus some people have a lunch, right? Even in your private practice, some of you have some kind of wellness product and whatnot. That's your focus on. Or even dental practice, you guys have a special whitening treatment, right? A chiropractic practice, you have a special back pain relief package,
Right.
whatever that core things, right? Podiatry, some of them, guess what? Some of the most frequent dryer for patient visit could be just a bunion treatment, right? Like whatever that one thing is, perhaps that next month's campaign that is
Yeah.
focusing on how many patients are actually purchasing those specific treatment plan. And then the whole messaging will be targeted into that from every single omnipresent engagement things that we're doing, and we measure that success. So from top down, what's that ultimate goal for the next month or even 3 months? Usually we do a 90-day campaign, right?
Yeah.
And then it's say, okay, now let's take it back even a step further. What's their overall company's vision, mission, value proposition, the pain points, those specific subset of people with that concern that wanted to have their teeth whitened? Why are they so happen to be doing it now than later on? Is
Yeah.
that because it's the wedding season, right? Everyone, you're whether you're part of the wedding, you're a bride, a groom, or it's just because the summer's coming up, you're going to be outside more, like whatever that goal and desire as well as pain point, right? What is that bad teeth are making you feel self-conscious, you're not going to your meetings for your business as confident, you're not presenting, you have to hide yourself. What is it, right? With all those research and knowing your client's pain point and desire, we have to be able to feed that all into AI. And then a next step up is, what's your writing style? What's your tonality and voice? Have you have samples that you have written based on social media style or blog style, email style? If you don't, what are your competitor or the other business entity you just really like their writing style? We can also analyze their writing style, then use that as a template for you guys. And that's how we can train the system be super consistent. in how do we put out the high quality result.
Yeah.
It's what do you actually put in to train the system, and then how do they analyze all the information fed? Do they understand what you're trying to say? And what is that specific task based on the modules? Now we're going to feed them with the templates.
Right.
And then is really giving you 90% of everything down, right? And
Right.
then you are just fine tuning it. Now, I did skip a step, which is content planning, right? So
But
when
before
we
you go to that step, just want to, if we have persons just joining in, we're talking about how do you feed your AI tool, whichever tool you're working with, the information that you need so you can get the results that you want. And we touched on ensuring that you have an overall plan. And you guys know that I sing that day in, day out. I am a planner. Just get the plan done. Think about your mission, think about your vision, think about the goals for your organization. And you touched on something, Sabrina, that is very important: listening to your patients. One of the things I do with clients, sometimes I say to them, tell me about a patient that came to you today. That one patient can give them so much content, but guess what? We are constantly looking out. So it's having your strategy, ensuring that you know what you're offering, what are the pain points, what are the frustration of your patients, and then from there, what solutions do you have, and feed that into your AI tool. And even if you don't have content, as Sabrina just shared, you can look for persons who are doing it the way you like, they write the way you like. One of the things I do sometimes, depending on what I'm posting, I would say to my AI, give me this in this person's voice, and I can, see if I like it. Another thing I do, I record my voice on the phone. So I'm thinking about something I want to share. I just record it. It's unfiltered, and I just upload that in the AI tool. And at least it has my voice and the way I do it. So have your plan, know what your pain points are, know what you're going to be offering as a solution, and you feed that into your AI. And now we're going to be talking about the content planning side of it. So now you've given AI your voice, AI knows more about your business. Now it's, how do I get my content?
exactly is if we don't train it, doesn't matter which software you're using. And definitely I would recommend for people who are new, then yeah, try out the free plan. But the pay plan, just $20 a month for ChatGPT. Cloud is the same way. They give you so much more functionality. You can upload huge files for them to analyze instead of the space that how much you can even copy into it. And also be aware of each open chat, they can only memorize 300,000, I believe, characters. So there's a limit on all the things that you trained is not going to remember. So
Yeah.
for my team, what I do is I have as a prompt template. So first prompt, second prompt, how do we train the system, and then do they understand it? And they will summarize and what they can do for you, what they understood. And then I feed them again to say, now this is my writing style. Can you do it in this way? And then it keep going, right? You keep feeding and feeding and feeding it to the point that it's really well trained. Now you do have, I usually end up having specific prompts even for our podcasting, is that there's a specific prompt to write this style, and then before I ask to write it, I give 2 samples, right? And now it can actually produce in the way that has the right hook, right summary of who's speaking, who's being engaged, what's the problem we're solving, bullet points on what's coming up, and then summary. So
Yeah.
that's way to help your writing team to do it much faster and consistently with the right quantity and quality of what you're doing. Now, that was a quick summary. Let's go to content planning
Yeah.
side. Biggest challenge for most people is, what do I really write about, right? It take me forever to even look up what other people in my field is writing about. That's time consuming. And now I wanted to take a different angle. How do I take a different angle? Now, the how part, it can be helped with AI. So something that if you guys has been writing blogs or even wanted to have backlink, right? Backlink means we publish on someone else's journal or
Right.
platform in some way, and they will tag your business, your website. So now Google knows, oh, you guys are actually someone, right? Like someone is validating you. So when one of the tip is, if you really like writing, Hero is a good way to sign up and to filter out topics that you start contributing to the journalists of these magazines and newsletters and whatnot. But I digress. One of the reasons why I mentioned Hero is that you have to stand out, just like your own content. So how do you stand out? You can simply say, I have this idea. What are the other angles perhaps I haven't been thinking about to make this more unique? Right now, after you train an AI knows your audience
Right.
pain points and desires and wishes. Now they can start giving you these additional angle that you can add to your existing content that you're trying to create, or that become even a new idea right on top of it. And you can also ask to get semantically related topics, right? And now it gives you even more than just the primary list of content. Now, one of the biggest strategy I would encourage you guys to do is that instead of having one strategy for all your blog writing, one strategy for your newsletter, and one strategy for all your audio or real shorts creation, you're going to combine it into one content calendar. So
Mhm.
that's how we can become super effective, is that when you create one long piece of content, and for us is that we actually help businesses to record podcast episodes. So instead of worrying about, oh, every week I have to do something, we encourage you, we're going to find one day out of the month, that's it, and only probably going to take you 2 to 4 hours, depending on how long you want your episodes to go. And we usually say it's 20 to 30 minutes episodes. We already know what are you going to talk about, the talking points, because it's your expertise. We simply guide you into the topic.
Right.
And now that one piece of 20 minutes content, guess what? That becomes weeks of social media. That becomes one or multiple blogs. That become your newsletter. That become your broadcasting for your email list to say there's a value give piece. You're not just calling out to tell them that you have a product to sell or come back for them visit, right? Now you're giving them, you are supporting them along their health
Right.
journey.
So one of the things that, and I've shared this, I say to persons, I remember I used Opus when it just came out. So I'm like, all right, let me try this thing out. I had a video that was like 17 minutes long, or maybe 20, and I was able to get 10 short pieces of content that I could use as shorts on YouTube, Reel, LinkedIn, you name it. Now, if you think about it, if I'm posting 3 times, that's like one whole month's worth of content. And then you have other application like Descript that's giving me a newsletter. But I think what we do sometimes, we have so much information that we want to share that we get so bogged down in doing something differently. If you think about our conversation now, this can be a newsletter. There are so many different points that can come from it that can be content for the entire month, because persons are interested in marketing, they're interested in how do I get information out there, they're feeling bogged down because they're doing so much but it's not converting. So what am I doing wrong? So it's really getting, as you say, to look at what, if you know what your strategy is, you know why you're doing it, you've validated that it is necessary, you've done the work. How do you now use this piece of content to continue sharing with others?
Right. It's that you want it to be omnipresent, but you don't want to do all the work to be omnipresent. And you don't actually need to have a different topic for each
Yeah.
platform. Because when we create content, those pieces become weeks of value give that you can send out. However, they're not to say, hey, this week's episode, like what me and Michelle's are doing. Awesome live. Now, this live, we're not going to drown people with this topic for the next 2 weeks. We're actually trickling out into different pieces. And this audio piece, once edited, can go into your podcast platform. And this video piece can be chopped down to different snippets that people's like, oh, this is interesting. I wonder what else they're actually talking about. And or this is interesting. Oh, there's a blog that actually explain more, because some people are readers. They're not really audio and visual people. So then they can go out, read that, and that becomes something you can use to optimize your SEO. And then this also can trigger later on, perhaps you can use as a rerun for your LinkedIn Live or anything, because at any point, if you have a consistent output, for me, it's every Tuesday I have my LinkedIn audio, every Thursday I have my LinkedIn Live. So at any of the week that perhaps I don't have anything to post or I didn't have time, now it's for you can repurpose, right? And then usually, yeah, we plan it out weeks ahead of time. But for some reason, you just say, hey, actually, we were talking about something else last week, but this one of my other episodes that we did a long time ago really complements to the topic we're doing. So we're going to re-air this for you guys to watch next week. Or even as you're talking, generating new content, we can say, hey, we actually talk about this other techniques onto how to reduce neck pain, and we'll drop that link below for you to get to know that better. And even you have read it before, probably you forgot some of the technique we talked about.
Or
right?
you've gained new followers or new persons who've connected with you, and you're like, hey, here's some information that we share. And one of the points that you raised just now, and it happens, what we get to realize is business strategy is business strategy, regardless of the field you're in. When I look at sports networks, so my husband is a sports fanatic, so I'm sometimes drawn into all of these reruns, right? And I look at shows like ESPN. They're talking about the same topic on ESPN radio. They're talking about the same topic on one show from 8 to 10, the same topic from 10 to 11. But it's getting that information out there based on how you digest it. So maybe you're a reader, maybe you want to see visual, maybe you want to listen to audio, or maybe you just want to consume the information in 30-second clips. But as you said, it's the same information that you're putting out there that persons are able to consume and digest, so it doesn't get overwhelming.
Exactly.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you, so we spoke about ChatGPT as a tool that can help. What are some of the other AI tools that you recommend that persons use, and for what? So ChatGPT, most persons probably think it's only, okay, let me type a text. What can ChatGPT do, and what other tools can help persons?
Yes. ChatGPT, you really have to train the system. Really, any of them, you train the system. What we see works really well is I would go into an hour-long session. We actually build customized GPT to them. So what's the good is now this chat box already have that company's own branding, own messaging, and the key. So for example, the customer's GPT is for a organization just to produce high convertible short reels, right? So then what that means is they need to know what to say in the very concise way, and that has a storyline to it. So once that is built, guess what? When they go to that link, all they have to do is answer a few questions. And for example, number one, what's the topic of choice? Number two, what's the content that you want to emphasize? Number three, what is your call to action? Right. And then because it's already trained the whole system, now we actually bypass the issue we mentioned before, where it doesn't remember if you open a new chat. So then once that organization have that built, guess what? All they do is answer those questions. Boom, that script is written. And now they can put up the teleprompter. All they do just film that less than 60-second reel. It becomes something that they can do so much more, right? And really building up their awareness. And then the same thing is we will do a social media post, and then we'll train the GPT in a certain way, and then it will write. Now, writing, I actually like Cloud the AI better as a copywriter versus GPT does more of an analytical thing. So that's writing our SOPs for your business sometime. So using live streaming, podcasting, right? There's multiple steps in what we talk about, the content planning side. But once you record that, what are all the steps that has to be taken to convert into the right type of content, and then where are we publishing that in what scheduling, right? 2 weeks after this got published, then it need to be a rerun. 1 week after it's published, then we're going to drop the 2 shorts, right? However that workflow, it need to be written out clearly and duplicatable so you can hand it off to your assistant or your production team so they can actually do it. And some other people, like, they will hire people like us. We take care of the whole thing. So
I
they
was
only
just about
do
to
the
say, I
fun
was
stuff.
just about to say, someone who is listening and they're already feeling scared or overwhelmed. They're like, oh my God, I need to train my GPT or my AI tool. I need to do all of these things. Like, I'm already checked out. So, before, I'm going to give you an opportunity to share what you do and how you can help persons. You're training your AI, you're scheduling your content. What are some of the, maybe two of the other challenges that you see persons have with AI that you also support them with, or even with marketing content that you support them with?
Right. So definitely, Michelle, number one is people feel overwhelmed of how much they're need to producing. I had a client that told me that he spent an hour and a half just figuring out everything, writing, creating his own graphics. I'm like, oh my God, you probably can see like 4 and 6 patients at this time. You're spending an hour and a half just write one post. That's not the most productive, right? So for us, is that many people want the white glove service, and then we do that. Typically, I give 2 plans. We'll build out all the AI modules based on cloud, ChatGPT, and these other tools, depending on where they needed to submit, right? And if it's SEO, then we recommend these additional tools where it can be after you have done the recording, you upload that
Right.
MP3 or MP4 file, and then the AI tool will start generating the right H1, H2, H3 subtitles with potential FAQs out for you, right? And then you just humanize a little bit and even give you additional keyword suggestions on what you want to do, right? But that's a whole span of package where most people's like, yeah, I see I need to, but I don't know if I want to, right?
Yeah.
So then they're just like, okay, so can you just build it, right? So we can have 2 ways. We can either build a model, write the SOP, and then to say, this is how you can just hand it to a virtual assistant to do it. Now, the caveat is you have a virtual assistant where you know how to hire one, and then you also know how to train one, right? So that's for people who wanted to build their own team or already have a team, then they can just have this whole system and they can just plug and play. Now, for the people who don't, they're started, they've been posting, but they've been like dragging their feet about like, oh, this is so annoying, right? There's a lot. I do see that people are engaging with what I'm doing. They do like it, but I just don't want to do it myself, right? So then we can do of all in one. What that means is we start digging into your company's branding a little bit, right? What's that brand Bible that you already created? Do we
Right.
need it to optimize a little bit more? And then take it into feeding the module that need to be. And then we strategize. Is that what have you done before that worked really well? Were you engaging with your potential clients or audience based on the audio form? And then if that's the case, we're going to turn everything you have produced before and existing into a podcast or live streaming, because that content, that one piece, we can pre-record and then save you a lot of time, and you can just forget about it, do the
Yeah.
fun thing. Or perhaps you like to have a dialogue, so one of us can be a host to interview you or help you to find additional speakers that are also experts in your field or your own existing client to do testimonial type of conversation, to have a patient care, right, caregiver educating topic based on your subspecialty. And we make it more even cohesive to say any health issue we're taking into multiple different angle, and therefore it make you stand out that much more.
Right.
And we take that audio and repurpose all the right ways on the right platform, and you don't even have to think about. So your time now is probably just a couple hours a month instead of minimum 3 hours a
Or even
week, right?
more, right? Or
And even more.
or even what ends up happening is you become inconsistent. You're at it, you're like, you know what, I can do this by myself. You're at it, at it, at it, and then next week you're like, oh my god, I can't do this by myself. So it's really getting the packages that works and knowing what works for you. And I often say to person, when person say, oh, I can't afford to do it, can you afford not to? Because if you're thinking of growing your practice and you're thinking of getting the word out and getting persons to know you exist and this is your expertise, if you think about how many, and numbers don't lie, if you think that if you're generating, say, $1,000 in an hour and you're spending an hour doing this activity, that's a trade-off. Am I paying $1,000 to get 1 month's activity, or am I losing $1,000 per hour? That's how I help persons to kind of think through, what am I really giving up? What's the cost right here? Can I afford not to do it? And if you spend an hour, you're getting a whole month's worth of content that converts, not just I'm playing around with Chat GPT and it's telling me to ask my people, I hope you're doing well, but how do you convert your content? So any last words as we close, Sabrina, and even dropping your link in the chat so persons can reach out to you and find out more about your services. Any last word before we close?
Yes, so we really believe in growing our business a holistic way, and content and marketing definitely is one of the great ways in the center of the business. And then we build down these video, blog, all that is growing the visibility. Now, that is not just enough, right? Just like Michelle saying, we need to think up broader. What's that whole entire journey that we're creating? So one of the quiz that we have built, go to postpointpass.com/quiz, or the direct link is impactquotientquiz.com. So we actually assess your business across all 12 domains of your business. How are you actually doing? How is your business actually creating the right impact you need it to be to think about growth? And for us, we also have a whole network of healthcare content creators and media personnel. So you can check us out at Healthcare Amplify, because we're all about amplifying who you are, putting you on the map. So we'll love to hear about all your stories and support you guys in the journey that you're on and doing it in your style and not just copycat everybody else is doing.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sabrina. We could go on. Can you imagine? We've been talking for almost 45 minutes, but there's so much that we can share. And we just wanted you to know what exists. How can your life be easier? Because marketing and getting the word out there is not just an academic exercise. It's really getting to know who you're serving, developing your strategy, and then working from there. Not just being busy doing busy work, but being very focused at your activities. Thank you so much for joining, Sabrina. It was a pleasure, and I hope that our viewers, you get something valuable. If you're watching the replay, go ahead, let us know if you have any comments, any questions in the chat so we can, respond to you. Thank you so much, Sabrina. And as we close, remember we come live every week. And if you have any questions, any struggle that you may have that you believe that, listen, we need to urgently cover this, I want you to go ahead and make that comment. And I also want to remind you of our workshop that we're having in Jamaica on May 11th, the Profitable Private Practice Workshop, where we're going to be, we spoke to Seb when we were talking about that high level. A lot of us don't have the high level. We just wake up every day and we're seeing patients. But how are you creating a strategy so your strategy can drive your actions? So when you hire somebody for marketing, you'd be able to say, boom, I did a strategy. I have my plan. I know who I'm targeting. I know the pain points. I know the frustration. This is who we are as a company. And that's what we're going to be working with you on, because we know that you may not be able to show up how you are showing up now, 10 years or 5 years from now. So we want to help you to create a practice that can grow and thrive and allow you as well to go out and do the things that you love. So when Sabrina is working on your content, you may be watching your kids at their sports or their dance or whatever activities they do, or you're chilling on the beach with a friend, or you're teaching because that's a passion of yours, or you're able to go home on time and spend time with friends and family. So go ahead and register. We're going to drop the link in the chat, and we're looking forward to having more conversations with you. Thank you so much for coming on, and have a wonderful day.